Folks, welcome to the Contrarian Trader. This is Bob Desmond, and welcome to our post-trade review. In these videos, what I like to do is talk about the whys of the trade. Why did we get involved with the trade? Why did we get this particular stock or ETF versus another trade? Why did we decide to short a stock rather than buying a stock? Perhaps it's the market environment that's friendlier to being short the market or versus buying a stock. We also talk about the when of the stock. When did we decide to buy? When did the stock chart say, or when did the market send us a signal that it was okay to proceed with the trade? And then the how. How did we decide to scale into a particular position? Is a stock at unsustainable levels, meaning unsustainable overbought or unsustainable oversold levels? In those situations, we want to add in increments, perhaps 20, 25% on the first round of buying, and then we'll add to that position. Perhaps on a breakout trade, a continuation move higher on momentum, we'll be a little bit more aggressive with the trade. It all depends upon the type of trade and the risk versus the reward. And you may be asking, am I only going to talk about my winners? No, unlike the well-dressed salesmen that go into CNBC and all they do is talk about their winners and how right they are about the market, I am honest. I talk about our losers as well. Why is that? It's because I like to teach people how to use the charts and stop listening to the story on CNBC. Once you learn how to use the charts, you become a very powerful trader and you're able to create wealth for yourself. Now, if you listen to the hype, you're bound to lose money. I'm sorry to say that, it's going to happen. So we talk about our losers because that's where we learn from our mistakes. If we learn from our mistakes, we know not to repeat them in the future. And being honest with yourself is very difficult, especially if you've lost money. I know the feeling. So if you learn how to learn from your mistake, you become a very powerful trader. Now, fortunately, we win on 80% of our trades. So that's a good story to tell. Most of the time, we have winners. And I hope to share with you more winners than losers, and I'm sure I will. But unfortunately, you're going to have those losers as well. So enjoy the video. If you'd like to have these videos sent to your email, please enter your email address. We hate spam too, no spam policy. And enjoy the video. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.
All right, another recent trade that we closed out last week was ERX, the Direxion Daily Energy Bull Leveraged ETF. Now, here is an ETF that was putting in higher lows. The all-time low was found on January the 21st at $14.14. It rallied, pulled back, reversed off of the lower band of the 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band on the 11th of February. So on the 12th of February, we broke out above this upper band of resistance and flashed a bullish key reversal. This is where we opened up our position at $16.46. We booked profits on this trade on February the 23rd because what had happened is that we rallied up and into the 50-day moving average. And keep in mind that as we're looking at this trade, or our thesis going into this trade was that this was a swing trade. We weren't in it for the long term. For the long term, we're going to pull back and take a look at the weekly chart, and I'll get to that in a moment. But on a swing trade basis, all we were looking for was that quick profit. All right, so here was our buy signal on the 12th, but here was a sell signal on the 22nd. Why? It's because the 50-day moving average acts as a declining ceiling on no matter what chart you're using, whether it be a daily chart, weekly chart, 2-hour chart, 30-minute chart, 5-minute chart. Doesn't matter. It acts as a declining ceiling, and you should expect sellers to move in. So when we broke down to a new daily low, first out, best out. We got out because we knew we'd probably get a pullback and hopefully a retest of this breakout point. We didn't get that, but we did put in a higher low. So now what we want to do is let's annotate the chart. Let's revise the chart higher, get our crayon out, because what we want to do is we want to keep an eye on ERX because what it's doing is putting in a series of higher lows. Connect the dots. We all did this in kindergarten. Identify where our resistance levels are because these are our milestones. If they break down below the lower band of support here, you have to avoid the name unless you're going to short it. But if we break out above this upper band of resistance, well then, the stock becomes a buy, or the ETF, I should say. Now, what concerns me about ERX is that we have resistance above, we have a hollow candlestick at the top of a trading range. If you go back to my trade analysis of NUGT, you'll note that one of the reasons why we took half profits on NUGT was a hollow candlestick. So with NUGT, if I were selling because I saw a hollow candlestick at the top of a trading range, I'm certainly not going to buy ERX at the top of a trading range and flashing a hollow candlestick, because this is a sign of indecision and we might get a pullback. I'd rather buy on the pullback because that increases my reward and reduces my risk if I decide to get involved with the trade. Volume on Friday was not good. It was below average. It's dropping off. We're putting in lower highs on Ultimate Oscillator, possible lower highs on Stochc RSI, which is a leading indicator. Stochastics looking pretty good, but still a possible lower high. So we're going to watch and wait on ERX, and we want to keep an eye on the weekly chart because we've already had our swing trade. We scalped the froth off of this one. The easy money was made. Now it becomes a bit more difficult, and you need to rely upon global macroeconomics. You need to pay attention to the price of oil, the performance of the US dollar, which was strong yesterday. I'll get to that with members on the week ahead commentary, and of course, the technical analysis. So now we want to take a look at ERX weekly basis. And guess what, folks? We broke out last week. We had a breakout above this upper band of resistance on rising up volume. That is a very bullish event, especially after you had this really tight consolidation. You had about 4 or 5 weeks of consolidation, and then we had liftoff. So now what we're looking for is a signal by the market. Is this for real? This is the question we always have to ask ourselves, especially when you're looking to get long in a bear market. And nobody could argue that ERX and the energy sector is in a bear market. What can happen many times is that you break out above resistance, and then all of a sudden you roll back over again and you break down to new lower lows. Because those who were wanting to sell on strength did so. And then you have supply overwhelm demand, and then when you break back down once again, you have sentiment that just gets crushed, and the stock, or ETF in this case, moves lower. So we're going to watch and wait, see whether or not ERX can consolidate, remain above this upper band of resistance, perhaps begin breakouts on the daily chart, 2-hour chart. So this is all the stuff that we'll go over with members on Market Wraps, Morning Update. That way we stay abreast of the performance of ERX. We can't just take a look at ERX and its performance on a weekend commentary and not do follow-up on it. And it's all about the follow-up, keeping a pulse on the performance of these names, and that's how we know when it's time to get long or add to our position, and then know when to sell our position. You need to monitor your trades. And don't be afraid to take a small loss. That's the name of the game. Keep your losses small, let your winners run. So that's it for last week's trades. We did very, very well, and I could talk about them all day long. I love to teach. So if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you're not a member, members, shoot me an email, and I could answer all the questions you'd like. And members, I could do it on video as well. So send them over, and we will send them out on either Market Wrap or Morning Update, or I'll even do it on Wednesday's member stock chart request, where I review the symbols that our members submit. And if you're not a member, leave a comment on either StockTwits, Twitter, a comment on my blog. Wherever you're watching it, I definitely monitor them, and I will certainly get back to you. Now let's segue into the other charts that we're looking to trade in the coming week, and I'll keep this brief again because I could talk about this stuff all day long. And members, again, I will be going into the week ahead commentary immediately after best stock charts, so stay tuned.